Hey guys, one question I get asked a ton is what's your process for doing an email audit? So, say I'm a prospect and I want to work with you. How do you think about taking me on? Where do you look first? What are the things that you want to know? And typically for me, I'll put that question back on them and I'll ask them, how much of your revenue comes from email? 0 to 10%, 10 to 20%, 20 to 30%, or 30% or more. And without even looking at what they have set up, just by them answering and giving me answers A, B, C, or D, right? So A is 0 to 10, B is 10 to 20, C is 20 to 30, and D is 30% or more. Just by knowing kind of what bucket they fall into, I more or less can kind of figure out what they're doing versus what they aren't doing. And when I can figure out what they're doing, I can figure out ways then to how do we do these better, right? How do we take what you're doing and do more of it that's working? How do we do less of things that aren't? And over here, for the things that you're not doing entirely, why aren't you doing those? Is it a bandwidth thing? Is it an expertise thing? And let's come in and execute on the low hanging fruit there first. And that way we'll be able to increase your guys' revenue. So at each step of the way, at each benchmark, there are likely things that you are or aren't doing, as mentioned. So at 0 to 10%, you're probably missing a ton of core flows. You're probably not sending enough campaigns. You're probably not leveraging and optimizing an email pop-up that's converting at 10% or higher, and so forth, right? So someone says, Chase, my brand is doing 5% of my revenue from email. How can you help me? Well, without even looking at your account, I'm sure there's a lot of core flows we can set up. Maybe you only have a welcome series for non-buyers and you have nothing else, right? So the low-hanging fruit there is let's go build out the abandoned checkout, the customer thank you, and so forth. Hey, we're only sending 1 to 2 emails per week. You're probably leaving money on the table by not sending 3 or 4 times per week. So I'll kind of get in there, try to make the 2 or 3 campaigns that are being sent really, really good, and then increase them from there. And there we're going to make more money. I'm going to focus on how do we make more of what we're doing on the email pop-up side work. Or how can we go from, let's say you're at a 2% or 4% or 6% email collection rate? How do we get that to an 8%, a 10%, a 12%, right? So essentially, can we add 50%? Can we double where you're at and collect more emails? Not by increasing the traffic or anything else, but by increasing our conversion on the forms. So moving on to 10 to 20%, you're probably missing a few of the core flows, right? You probably have more flows in place than you would in the previous step, but you're probably missing a lot of advanced flows. Probably not doing any referral marketing, probably not doing any gender flows. You're probably missing a good amount of those things that we can kind of come in and really be smart with the marketing so we can be high engaging and therefore produce high revenue. And you also probably could be sending more campaigns per week. Say you're only sending 2 per week. Can we get that to 3 or 4 campaigns per week? We have a process on how we audit and figure out the optimal number of campaigns per week. And I've talked about this before. It's the equilibrium between maximizing revenue and minimizing churn. At what point can we get away sending X number of emails per week and make as much money as possible, but not have our negative engagement, things like unsubscribe, bounce, markets to plan. How do we not get those to skyrocket and so forth? So here's kind of a look at an account that has 9% of their revenue coming from email. You can see here that they have 6 flows set up. Only 3 of the 6 are unique because the other 3 of the 6 are all welcome series, right? So welcome series 10% off, right? A welcome series Amazon, right? Welcome series below. The only other unique ones are a customer thank you, abandoned checkout, and abandoned cart. There's lots of opportunity there to increase the number of flows that we're going to be creating. On the campaign side, they only sent 6 campaigns over 1 month. That's 1.5 campaigns a week, which is far too little. Right, so just by adding more flows here and by adding more campaigns, we probably could go from, conservatively, let's say 9% of the revenue coming from email to probably 12 to 14% of revenue from email pretty quickly. And over 3 or 6 months, our goal would try to be getting that to about 20% of their revenue coming from email in that kind of time frame. Right, so we essentially would be a little more than doubling their current email revenue. So you get kind of the 0 to 10% and the 10 to 20%. How do you get to 20% or more? And it's really a matter of having the core flows in place. It's a matter of having the advanced flows in place. Not only that, but you have to make sure that you're optimizing all these things. It's one thing to set it and know you cannot set it and forget it. And it's another thing to really optimize and increase performance of every single email within every single flow. This is constantly iterating and updating and testing and optimizing everything within every single flow email. Do not settle, always be testing. I mentioned this kind of point 1 second before where it's maximizing revenue and minimizing churn on campaigns. So for you, your brand might only be able to get away sending, let's say, 3 campaigns per week. But for someone else, you could probably get away sending 5 or 6 campaigns per week. That's done through sending more relevant content to more relevant segments, gender segments, male segments, female segments, right? Geolocation segments, people on the West Coast versus the East Coast, VIPs, engaged segments, and so forth. And I mentioned this point earlier as well, is you have to have a form that's collecting at or around kind of 10%. So for every 100 visits, you're collecting about 10 emails. That's really strong and extremely healthy. And then it's understanding which segments you should hit. I just mentioned those. And then ensuring your deliverability is solid. This is something that most people are kind of sleeping on and not really paying attention to. If your deliverability sucks, you don't have an email business. If your deliverability is good, that enables you to have longevity from your email channel and not only produce revenue today or tomorrow, but produce revenue in a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and so forth. So let's look at kind of an account that has a lot of revenue coming from email. These guys over the past year did 13.5 million in total revenue, with about 4 million or 30% coming from email. And you can see the distribution between flows and campaigns. So here, right, you can see there's tons of flows, right? They have a lot of the core flows. They have a lot of advanced flows set up. This is really, really strong and really, really healthy. And then here, they sent 9 campaigns in 9 days, right? So they made 80K on one, 240K on another, 18K on another, right? So being really aggressive and sending lots of campaigns to lots of different segments. So really, this kind of wraps up like the way that you go from, 0 to 10%, to 10 to 20, and then from 10 to 20 to 20%, 30%, and so forth. So I hope this helps you understand like what things you should be focused on. Again, it really comes down to campaigns, flows, collection, and segmentation. Hope that helps. Thanks.